If you've seen a speedrun of a hand time before, there's a good chance you've encountered the route known as Lab Early. This route takes place not even a minute into the any percent speedrun, as once we grab the game's first timepiece, we do some pretty crazy out-of-bounds movement in the dark to enter the lab rift, making Lab the second timepiece in the run. You might be wondering, why? Why do this level early in the run when we go this way later anyways to access Nyakuza? Okay, I mean, surely the reason we do it is because this path to enter the lab is faster than getting there normally, right? Well, this isn't actually the case. By taking advantage of the slopes that the tunnels provide, the intended path to the labyrinth ends up being a couple seconds faster than our out-of-bounds shenanigans. It turns out the reason we perform Lab early is actually because of this game's routing. You see, upon beating Welcome to Mafia Town, the only world we have access to is Mafia Town. The next world, Battle of the Birds, doesn't open until we've collected at least 4 timepieces. With this linear approach to level accessibility at the start, the game basically requires us to beat the first 4 missions of Mafia Town before we can continue collecting timepieces in the other worlds. And this is where the genius of Lab Early kicks in. By throwing it into the mix, suddenly we only need to collect 3 timepieces in Mafia Town to access Birds. As a result, we can delay the 4th level of Mafia Town, Down with the Mafia, for as long as we want. In a speedrun, this means collecting 3 timepieces from Birds and a whopping 7 from Subcon Forest before returning to Mafia Town for a second time. On top of the timepieces, we also collect several yarns, enough to where by the time we return to Mafia Town, we have access to the Ice Hat. And that right there is the key difference between doing Down with the Mafia at the beginning of the run versus doing it later. And by extension, why we go through the trouble of completing the lab early. Down with the Mafia is one of the few levels in the game with a boss fight, that being against the Mafia boss, who's met after completing a brief platforming section. This fight consists of 3 separate phases. The first 2 are more or less auto-scrolls, with not a whole lot we can do to speed it up. Phase 3, however, introduces a new mechanic, the Mafia Ball attack. Now, you're expected to go on top of the ball to deal damage, however there's an interesting vulnerability with this attack. When Moss is in this attack, he actually loses collision with the ground of the arena as it's replaced by the collision with the ball. Meaning, if we can use a glitch to displace Mafia Boss from the ball, he'll fall through the floor out of bounds and into the death plane under the theater. Turns out, with the help of the Ice Hat, we can achieve just this. When Moss initiates this attack, we're going to stand behind him and wait for a very precise time in this animation to jump and then quickly use the Ice Hat's ability. If we time it right, Moss will fling us away right as the Ice Hat ability kicks in to stabilize us and ultimately move us closer to inside his hitbox. From that position, we can quickly swap to the Brewer Hat, and if done properly, the hitbox from the Brewer Potion charging will get wedged between Moss and the Mafia Ball, forcing him off, instantly ending the fight, skipping the entirety of Phase 3 as a result. Follow for more.